on stage, so I can start presenting. You already now walking, trying to multitask. So we have on the far left, Till, which is a patent attorney from Ericsson, worked also in the engineering, management, and in different layers. So with a lot of experience from different roles. Then we have a true researcher, Yemao Man from ABB. He's sort of has to deal with IP in certain roles, but more he's really focusing on development. And then I was asked by people to check these documents out, which are patents, which some people love and others don't. Then we have Riberio Chagas from Munters. And she's a patent engineer, so she's a little bit more of an interface between the researcher and the IP department and the patent attorney. So having this transcendence role of trying to interact and communicate what is invented, what is not, what is patent, what is not, what is patentable, what is not. And then we have Mikael Beving, who is the founder of ToolSpace, which is an accelerator for R&D coaching. And that's for helping people out to, to make the journey from transcending for being, having a project and wanting to putting it to the market or making it work as quickly as possible. And I'm just going to hand out some microphones here. So, and then I also promised some fun facts. So, Mikael, besides being the captain of R&D, is also captain of a sailing ship. So that's a good experience. So that's something he brings in within his daily life. Then we have two bakers on stage. You might guess who are these two bakers? It's actually Anna, and it's Till. And then we have Yemao. Well, he has like an unexpected skill because he's not very tall, but he's a super basket player. So that's, you see, they all challenge themselves to taking on different roles, and that's what we're talking about today. The challenge of, explaining and what to bridge R&D and IP, because it's a challenge. I mean, R&D, you want to invent, you want to build new things, you want to do everything, and then it comes in sort of associations you have to comply with certain things. So I remember we had the first discussion, you can start, and you wanted to use a lot of things, but you can't within the organization. So how do you sort of, you're sort of a little bit hampered because it has to come with the rule sets and governmental contracts and signing and validations of security. So you can maybe get a little bit of input on that, how you feel a little bit the role there.
Yeah, I think as a senior researcher in the user experience team, we do a lot of research in different business areas. And what we want to do is really to facilitate the business to develop. And there we have to innovate and do a lot of innovations, see how we can make their systems more user-friendly, to engage the users even more. And there we need to really think about not just ideate, but also think about how to protect these ideas. And what are the ideas has been filed before? What is the similarities? What is the difference? Where our novelties come into the picture? So there we definitely need tools to support our activities. And I think as time goes by, and we see a lot of AI-driven applications going on in the market. IPscreener is one of them, but there are others. And the year before last, I think that's almost knocked the door for Gen AI, with OpenAI publishing a lot of the ChatGPT and so stuff like that. And more applications can be seen in the market last year. And I would say that the number will continue to grow this year. And I think, I feel as a researcher, we get more supported by seeing those tools. But because it is quite important that our efficiency gets speed up, or facilitate. However, it has to ensure the security. So that's something we do not do at ABB, is that you just open up your ChatGPT 4.0 and type your ideas and see if there is an ideas that is similar to my idea. That doesn't work like that. So we have to, put security and safety in the first place and see how we can integrate the tool in our whole workflow. I can see that, for example, in the first presentations, that's a quite neat flow. And I think that is what our researchers really ask for, is that how to integrate the tools into our flows of innovations and not just, open up another tool, another tool, another tool, and manually wire them together. I think we're on the way together, I think. But of course, there's still improvement to be done. But I think with the passage of time, with the availability of the more AI tools, we see more possibilities.
So Anna, you already had experience of, you're not so many people, you have a lot of things to do, so you felt forced to embrace this new mindset already early on.
Yes.
Are you allowed to do it? Or you had to sign on certain tools?
Yes, we have some tools. I worked with IPscreener before. That's not something we have right now at Munters, but within the patent search tools, you have the traditional part, but now the software companies, the patent software companies, they are implementing this feature of AI within the traditional search tool already. So we are using it because we are not so many people. So it's basically just me and the patent attorney. It really helps us saving time when dealing with the invention. So we are more or less forced to use this early on. But overall, of course, we face the same issues that Frederick mentioned before, that sometimes we get good results, sometimes we don't get a really good result. But overall, it really feels like an improvement, and we are able to save time on this, which is our biggest challenge for now, of course.
So you're still then the single node between the R&D and the IP attorney?
Yes, that would be only me and the patent attorney.
So you're multi-talented.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we of course have a multinational company, so I have a global role, so it's sometimes a lot to deal with, and we use this as a way to really save our time.
And Kjell, you mentioned that of course you have this fantastic workflow, but there is also still sort of a challenge to make inventors fill in the templates. You have nice templates, but they sometimes are not so populated as it should be, and you're looking at ways of helping them out there for ideation purposes. So, could that also assist the process of preparing them even before they get searched?
Yes, of course. So, we have tried different ways of supporting inventors to use AI to do inventions. And the earliest project that I are aware of is already 11 years back. And this was, for example, a tool which assisted inventors to become aware of publications, rather recent publications, within certain fields that might be interested to them. And interested for them is based on some framework that you put in, for example, let's say, using smartphones or something like that. So this is one way of supporting that. Then of course there's a lot of noise, and it's like a brainstorming session where you don't have a focus that will likely relate to some inventions, but maybe not inventions that are interesting from a business perspective, or also from a patentability perspective. But then also we looked now at AI tools for drafting, and some of them also support actually drafting invention disclosures. So they are really more for the inventors to use. And there are even tools that have more or less, you can almost have a conversation, maybe by typing still. You describe your invention, maybe the tool can ask a few questions like finding loopholes in your story, which don't really add up, or maybe also suggesting alternative embodiments. And this is of course something which then moves closer to the inventors, because with IPscreener, I think, even though, for example, at Ericsson, we put the IVD into IPscreener, at least my experience is if I redraft the text, the search becomes better. So it's still I think there's some bias towards the language that we are used to.
So do you see any challenges that if you can trust the tools too much, so you lessen your focus because you think it's good enough, so maybe I don't have to be as alert as I normally should be?
Well, I always, but maybe that's also a question of age. Anna's much younger. It's an augmentation, right? It's not like you put in and you get a perfect answer out. We've just recently tested a tool for claim charting. So basically, you say, I want this patent, this claim. Is there any public information indicating that there is an infringing product? And that can be, if you're lucky, you get a very good result, but the AI can also make an argument which sounds like perfect, but it doesn't make sense. So you certainly, as a human user, you need to be very careful and critical.
So, and Mikael, I remember the first time we talked about this, and you were in the R&D chain, that people run in, they want to push on the market, and they have no clues whatever with IP. And patent is just one part, but they even neglect trademarks or design or trade secrets. They don't really have control of this portfolio. So how did you see this journey of making them pay attention to IP at all and making it worth?
I think the big difference for me in comparison to you is that we take a lot of entrepreneurs, innovators, researchers are not so many, but more entrepreneurs with an innovation maybe. So they are looking on the full journey on everything. So IP is a part of that journey, of course. So what we need to do very early on in the process is to get like a sense of urgency, understanding the importance of looking at IP. But what we do also that I found very, very useful is also going into the business area, looking at databases and patents as a possibility to do more business and understanding like the landscape. So it's very much of a landscaping tool also that we're using it for.
And the translation of, because we talk about the complexity of patent, it's become more and more of legal documents, and it's not as it used to be, more of article based, so it becomes, maybe you don't read it as a book, you have to find sections to read, and then when you present one document and says, what is this, why should I read it? Usually they don't really want to open it. You have to sit with them and say, now we turn to page 15, please.
Definitely.
Hold my hand, it's okay. I remember.
It's very much of holding hands, I would say, also because, of course, they don't know so much in the beginning, so you have to like hold hands very early on. But the thing is also during that process, they will become more and more skillful, and we will be able to communicate in a better way also. So I like the process of just like sitting together with them, just teaching them or coaching them, and just becoming more skillful. And another thing is also that they understand how much is being done out there and how many good things and good other people that they really can contact sometimes also, and using the databases as a contact network even as a possibility to do an exit in maybe in a longer future, like in 5, 6, 7 years or so.
So then I asked the whole panel here, just an open question. So what do you think is the sort of the biggest challenge to make them make use of patent IP information in R&D? What do you see as a challenge right now? What would your wish be on new tools? We're just taking away what you have, just looking at the future.
Yeah, I would think that the first challenge, of course, is safety or security. Because now we're using the AI tools, and now a lot of tools that just say, well, you can use this API and that API, then you can immediately get results within 10 milliseconds. But is it safe? Where does the data go? So that's a big question. And the second thing I would say is the quality of the data that it generates, because GenAI has turned up a completely new page for AI landscape. Because previously we're dealing with analytical AI, which is doing a prediction and those kind of things. And generative AI is a different thing, because it will use the model to generate even insights. And that is something that we have never seen before. So a big problem in that area is hallucination. So the data that it generated doesn't make sense. It may sound good, But if you go a deeper look at it, you will know that it's a crap. So, and how to solve that issues? How can we improve the accuracy and reliability? That's a big issue. And then the third part, I would say that generative AI, now we are exploring, the potentials of it. I think there is a tremendous part that we cannot ignore, is how it can facilitate this collaborative decision making between different roles, between different members or different roles. So I'm an innovator, I'm a creator, and I have colleagues who co-innovate idea with us, with me. How can we use a Gen AI tool together collaboratively? How to involve the business part who have better ideas of the business value of the innovations, how to involve them. And also how to involve the IP officers who have the overall landscape in the business part. How to involve that person. And how to involve our IP officers and patent lawyers in this process. So it is a collaborative, I would say, collaborative decision-making process that Gen AI has a great potential to grow into. And I would say the fourth one would be the applications of Gen AI could be so many forms. So when people are talking about Gen AI, the first thing they think about is the chat. But it doesn't have to stay on the chat. It could be, for example, when you select certain passages or certain paragraphs, right-click it. You can see some summaries of it. So that kind of a feature is also Gen AI. Or if you want to, input some text and then can generate a sketch of it, and you make modifications on top of that sketch. That's another one. And so there are a lot of forms of Gen AI, and it doesn't have to limit to the chat-based interaction or modalities.
Anna, what is your take if you...
Yeah, sure. For me, the biggest challenge that I see, even though I don't have that much experience in the IP world yet, is really the language barrier that we have between the patent language and R&D language. So even if I receive an invention from R&D, like a Word document, and they describe their invention, if I just input this to the tool, it doesn't give as good results as if I write myself thinking about, how this patent would be written, let's say. And you put the background and you write some sort of claims and the subject matter, and then the patent attorney or a patent engineer can really write a good prompt for the AI, and the inventors may not be able to do this as efficient. So I hope that the tools in the future will be able to translate this R&D language into a patent language, so we can get really good results and we don't have to keep rewriting their inputs. But I really feel that for me the biggest challenge right now is this language barrier.
Kjell, what was your vision here?
Well, I think...
bigger corporates.
Yeah, I mean, a bit in line with what we said, besides the security issues, that if you want to hear the latest from using AI tools, don't ask Ericsson or ABB, because we will just always be late because of security requirements. But I think people just should be aware that you cannot use the output as is. We sometimes get this invention disclosures where people use these AI tools, and sometimes it's just very much off from what you would expect from an invention that has business value and is patentable. On the other hand, if you really learn how to do prompts and how to use the best of these tools systematically, really break it down into what you want to do, I think then you can achieve very good results. And for example, I saw last week WriteHub had a seminar on how to draft an Office action response with their AI tools. And that was very instructive, because he didn't just dump the Office action into the tool, but he really picked things apart, analyzed prior art separately by using very directed prompts, and really got good result out of that. So it's, I think you called it augmented intelligence when we talked last week. Use it as an augmentation, not as a replacement of what you're doing.
Yeah. And Mikael, from the entrepreneur side.
Yeah, from the entrepreneurial side, I think the biggest challenge today is the understanding of the patents themselves. So something I would like to have in the future is AI that supports me when it comes to the interpretation and understanding, at least getting one step further. I mean, I can understand that like an entrepreneur and innovator can't understand everything like you guys can, but just being more professional and being, when they come to you, that they will be more professional through the process, and that will be automatic. I think that's a wish from me.
So a bit on the threat side, it was this, I read this, it was some months ago from Berkeley. They did a study on, they had their law students, and they were allowed to use any kind of AI tool in the final exams to make the results better. And they had a tier of different students across the Gaussian curve from less performant to overperformant, and they saw in general that if you're sort of the lower part, actually they improved the results on the final exam with 42%. So they actually, so if you're not really good at writing fast or accessing text, you actually could improve your performance considerably. But however, on the upper end, where you had really good high performance students, they saw that when they used the tools, they actually degraded the results by 22%. So of course, you think with mathematically, everything's pushed down to the Gaussian middle, but that means because they were a little bit lenient, they say, yeah, it's good, I can save some time, I can do something more, I can multitask, but it's not as good as they would be. So what is your thought about that we become a little bit too soft about this? I mean, that they do too more than it should do.
Well, I think that goes back to the using as an augmentation tool into your work.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to use it for everything. Sometimes it's just easier to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But I mean, that of course comes with experience. You will probably have to try it.
So that's an age thing.
Yeah.
but Anna, yeah.
I think we will have to find this out together as the IP field, because we will really have to know what we can use AI for, because the patent professionals are so competent in their area. So sometimes, or maybe today, a lot of times, you don't need AI. You shouldn't even use AI, because you have to have the expertise on that. But for sure, AI, I feel that, at least for us in IP, it's not there yet fully, but we can start to use it to improve on it.
Mikael,
I just want to agree. Nothing to add.
I also agree. I think it's a lot. I think the AI's roles here is maybe in an industry we often heard this sayings that, okay, we use AI to replace the operator to do this and that. But I'm doubtful to those idea of a human replacement. I think they are here to facilitate the human. So it's I would still take a very human-centered way to look at this. Is that, can AI be my co-pilot on this way to innovate? There are certain things that maybe I don't have to do manually, but I can be the boss, I can be the captain to make the decision how to navigate the water. But you can do the fine maneuvering for me, because you probably know the technical data or details to optimize it. But then you work for me, because I have the brain, I have the novelty. So I think it's maybe with time pass by, if the large language models is developed to an extent that it has all the expertise, collected from these IP experts, probably by someday we do not human, but I don't think that will happen shortly. And I would still think that we humans and we need to find a synergy basically between AI and a human workers.
Yeah. So, and coming to that sort of forensic spying forward, do you have any thoughts of what could come after? I mean, we didn't anticipate LLM to be too powerful, but now I'm really pushing a little bit here. What do you think could come next?
I've seen some research that I think is very interesting. Now we're looking at maybe a couple of years, and that's been happening within healthcare. So what they've done is using these large language models, and they prompted a lot of persons, like you are a doctor, you are a patient, you are working in the reception, and they run these models just like a little Sims world, and they actually improve the interactions and the knowledge between them through this prompting. So I think that's an interesting thing that's happening, and my guess is that's on a couple of years at least, this is something that will affect.
So the AI is trained to then train people, it's trained on documents, then training back on us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that this is a fantastic trend that we already seen, is that it's going to be a agentic flow, meaning that you will have probably multiple agents during different tasks, and these agents are collaborating with each other to do this complex task. So for example, if you want to write an application, you probably want to have an agent who write the code. You have an agent to review the code. You have an agent to, publish the code. You have an agent to, do all the legal things about the code. And these agents talk to each other, even debate with each other, and then comes out or harmonize the solution to achieve what you want to achieve. And people have already empirical research findings to prove that by have this agentic flow, you will have a better results than direct prompting. Because it works step by step with very good planning and coordinations.
Anna, any sort of trend spotting on your side?
Yes, for IP, I hope that the future, what it holds for us is to use AI to speed up our processes. Because today, if you see, if it takes 3 to 4 years for patent to become granted, this for many industry, this is not acceptable. For maybe a product in 4 years, it's already in the market and out of the market in 4 years. So I hope we can use this new technology to help us in the IP field on this.
Well, I'm not sure. So, I mean, we talked about, there are a lot of tools for our side of the street, right, to draft office action responses. And I know, of course, the EPO is working a lot with AI, but I haven't seen the latest on how or whether the EPO uses AI to draft their office actions. I mean, we all have seen hallucinations in office actions for many years, so that won't change.
Even manually.
Even, yes, manually hallucination. But I mean, it would be like a back and forth, and as you said, the agents debating, maybe we have an agent on our side and the EPO's one on their side, coming to a conclusion then, which is maybe reviewed manually or by another agent.
That's good. So I think we could open up a little bit to the floor. Is there a specific question? Now we have sort of all the different roles here together. I always think it's a good opportunity if someone wants to drill them or anyone who wants to raise some special question or thought. It's all perfectly clear. Then I can sort of come back to one thought from my side on the. So what today do you think is the sort of problematic part by these trends coming in? When you study everything should be in one direction, everyone jumps on that train, and then it might be not the right train. So what do you see? How do you handle this? Because it's like a herd on the antelopes on the savannah. And it's very hard to say, hey, you're running in the wrong direction. It's not water, it's lions. What is your thought about that? Maybe Mikael can start.
I would say I'm a little bit worried about that, actually. I would like us to, I mean, we're all professionals in different areas, a little bit like you were talking about also, and that we keep focus on that also, so we're not going too far, because we're the one that should steer AI and should like steer the future also, and just not being like the ones running behind when everything's happening. So we have to have these discussions also about what's right for us, what's good for us, and maybe that's also a wish for the future when it comes to AI also, that we're going to use AI also to support us, maybe also to do good decisions. And also talking about innovations and IP and so forth, also a discussion that we should have is also, of course, all innovation is not always good. So could AI support us in that way when it comes to sustainability, for example, and many other things? I mean, I think that would be a great way of using AI.
Maybe on a positive note, I think IP professionals that I have contact with and everyone that I know, everyone is really careful about using AI. And I think that's a really good position to be when you're leading this, because we today, everyone working with IP and R&D, we are the ones steering a technology that in 20, 30 years, we don't know how it's going to be. So it's a really good position to have now and to be careful with it and to really think about how do you want to implement this, and to know that in 30, 50 years, your legacy will be here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to maybe say that in the future, I still believe this human-centered or human-centric approach is very, very important, regardless what we do. And of course, AI landscape is evolving at an unprecedented pace. And we can see that new apps being launched almost every day, and doing things that we can never imagine that they do before. But I think one thing I think we have to remember is that they are here to facilitate us. Being a co-pilot, for example, that's one of the potential forms. And just I think about 2 weeks ago, the head of the super alignment teams in OpenAI just resigned, and he said this in Twitter that he thinks OpenAI needs to do a better job in terms of the safety and security, because they are doing this for the whole humanity. And I think that's a concern for me, because they are leading the AI company in the world, but they are also questioning the ethical and the societal implications they can get from the applications. I think we have to be aware of. We have to be more mindful when it comes to using these AI tools.
Well, just a practical consideration would be that the development of these tools is that fast that now when we are testing AI tools, when we made a decision on one, we have basically to start over, because the development cycle is that short, and these steps between releases are just enormous in terms of functionality and performance, that right now I think it feels that we can't really make up our mind and select one tool, and we basically would not use the best one at a time if we did.
So basically, it would be a need for an official institution to do the probing, like how are you selling car? You can actually see how safe they are, how fast they are, what consumption is. Today, there's new institute where we pull data from APIs or from providers anonymously, and you're given a score, and it's an official score. It's not you telling them; it's actually someone telling about your score. So that could be maybe a very good wish for this panel to end this session with. To ask for evaluation and tools for it. Good. Then I think it was a really great panel, and we thank them for taking the time to be here. And, session before you leave, you're going to have a small candy bag with you as well. So, yeah, you can also take chairs. So you got one bottle and one chair. Sorry. There you go. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks. One more applause for them.